lovely day. I even shaved my legs. Traveling far out into a new headspace. Won't you tell me where it's at? Here we are, it's Aunt Tracy's place.
Yeah, I'm almost ready. I'll meet you down there. I have to stop by the store and pick up some eggs first. Well, I only have one left. Turns out there are 2 E's in Riley Gaines. Yeah, I didn't know either. Hey, save me a seat up close. Yeah, well, bitch has egg on her face one way or another. Oh, hang on, I have a guest. Thanks for stopping by. I'm on my way to the pool. Figured I'd get in a few laps. Unless laps means literally drinking from the pool. I'm not really hip to the aquatic lingo. Who was that on the phone? Why, you jealous? You didn't think we were exclusive, did you? I'm not one of your little toys, you know. I do talk to other imaginary people. So what can I do for you, darling? Okay, but I really need to warn you, this fishbowl is full of actual posts and comments from my social media interactions. Abandon ye all hope of finding coherence in here. But whatever you want to do is fine by me. After all, it is the case Aunt Tracy's place would be a dreary space without your grace. Hey Aunt Tracy, check out this post from Fox News. What do you have to say about that? I don't know. Cool graphic. I do like emojis.
The numbers, Tracy, not the design elements. Look at the numbers, those price increases. Why are homes so terribly expensive these days?
I don't know, probably because wealthy people buy multiple homes, not for shelter, but for financial stability. Like, I see a house as a place to sleep indoors, but they see it as an investment opportunity. The only way I can really see out of these price increases is market regulation, but we all know Fox News is vehemently opposed to that, so... That has nothing to do with inflation, high gas prices, and all the other disastrous decisions this current regime has done to the United States in the last 3.5 years, Tracy. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the reason we're in this mess. But that's a very nice bedtime story you have there. Our current president sucks out loud, and so will the next one. Trump, Harris, makes no difference to your Aunt Tracy. Switching presidents won't have this big, resilient impact on the American economy the way that you hope it will. Greedy capitalists have a much larger influence on these markets. I mean, this is a Fox News graphic we're talking about. If you take that at face value, then I've got a really good deal on this bridge you should hear about. Anyone who thinks the president has little impact on the economy doesn't know much about politics or the economy, Tracy. I know enough. You don't have to be dismissive. Look. Trying to enlighten a Democrat is like trying to teach a quadriplegic to swim. They don't realize that the Democratic Party they think they belong to no longer exists. It's actually the American Communist Party. Look, I'm not a Democrat. I mean, I think we covered this already in a video that nobody watched. I can remind you exactly what I said in that video if you'd like. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but there is no hope for change within the political establishment. That illusion is shattered in my mind. I mean, I'm happy to tell you my views on the subject, but I don't think you'll like what I have to say. For instance, I think private property should be abolished. I think there should be democracy in the workplace. I can't say if my views are correct and yours aren't. That's irrelevant to me right now anyway. Not when I have such a fine bridge to offer you at rock bottom prices. I swear it's like new, barely even crossed. You still aren't going to vote, Tracy? You do know the Democratic Party changed candidates, right? That doesn't make a difference to you? If you're referring to the same candidate endorsed by Sith Lord Dick Cheney, no, I'm not voting for her. Look, I'll give you half a point here. Whoever is in the Oval Office does have a big impact on how the media covers the economy. But the actual levers of power are operated by the oligarch class. The ones who make major contributions to political parties. Both political parties. You don't want people to own private property? That would mean you support the communist agenda. You're creating a false choice. I don't have to fall into one extreme or the other. There is a political spectrum. Why must people so consistently reject the idea of a spectrum? Both socialist and capitalist principles can be Voltron together to form a more fair and just society. Hybrid systems of government do exist in, I believe, every country in the world currently. Look, even if I believe that abolishing private property is the right thing to do, I'm obviously not going to convince every American to agree. Too many competing interests. Too many hands holding on to our shiny little possessions. So we find a compromise, there can be common ground. For instance, I wouldn't want the state controlling every single industry in the economy. Capitalism is the problem, not commerce. Remember, I sell dildos for a living. Do you really think I want the government involved in that? No thank you, and my customers don't want that either, be they clergy or congressmen. Why do you hate hard-working, wealthy people? They provide jobs and pay higher taxes? Are you one of those communist-thinking people that thinks everything needs to be divided and redistributed? Well, it would never be divided evenly. There would be a top and a bottom. We already have tops and bottoms in this country, thank you. And I'm not the one complaining. Most people would be common slaves, owning nothing, not even a car. And that BS climate change garbage, it's all for your own good though. Are you okay with that? That's a lot of questions. So let me just do the polite thing and answer your question with a question. Did you see a car parked outside your Aunt Tracy's place? I mean, other than the surveillance van with the CIA spooks in it that's usually parked out there. I've been fully participating in your stupid capitalist economy and I'm already a wage slave. I don't own any property. My most valuable asset is that decade-old computer that I use to edit these worthless videos. I'm a bottom on bottom if there ever was one. So spare me your woeful tales of inequality under a different system of government. Also, just Google the Panama Papers if you really think the wealthy pay their share in taxes. Money isn't real, you know. Access is what's real. And many of us already don't have access to life's little conveniences as it is. Oh, blah, 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 communist, socialist, makes no difference. People like you are brainwashed. I wish you'd just move back to China. I don't even speak Mandarin. I like living here, thank you. You can't deport everyone who disagrees with you, you know. This isn't Survivor Island. Now, the president undoubtedly has an outsized impact on the economy compared to the average citizen. Their individual choices far outweigh the impact of my personal choices. But at the same time, the collective decisions made by millions of consumers each and every day outweigh anything one president can do. So I ask myself, who influences the consumers? The president? Seriously? They rarely make an appearance these days. No, they let these memes do all the talking for them. And who are the people generating these memes and the ones like it all over my timeline? Well, they come straight from Dennis Prager or the Koch brothers or foreign actors. Look at this post from American Life Today that was uncritically reposted into my feed by an American patriot, despite the fact that it's Russian propaganda hosted in Vietnam. It's right there in the About section. You just gotta scroll down a little bit. These memes seem to have a lot of influence, even though very few people stop to consider who created the original meme. You have to ask yourself, what are their motives? This Fox News meme? Fox News just wants ad revenue. They're not quite as concerned with the accuracy of their claims. Does Fox News just want money? Sure. But that's irrelevant, because they're correct in this situation. Are they? Like the kids once said, show me them receipts. Explain to me why they're correct. None of your arguments thus far have been more substantial than yelling wabbit season when I say duck season. Explain to me how greed isn't the biggest problem with the American economy. Explain to me how cutting taxes or whatever plan your preferred presidential candidate has proposed is going to help the situation. What is their plan to make housing more affordable? I don't disparage Fox News for wanting to make money. It's how they choose to make their cash that's harmful. I agree with you, Aunt Tracy, that consumers are the biggest part of the problem. I don't remember saying that. We have the power to control this housing crisis if we collectively stop unnecessarily buying homes that cost $50,000 more than they're worth. But your original argument that the president has little to do with the housing crisis? That's lunacy. Listen, honey, I know it's comforting to believe that the problems with the economy can be fixed simply by flipping from one administration to the other. But it ain't like that. and blaming consumers for what you call bad decisions. We're only being presented with bad choices. Either pay for this house at market price or make a competing offer on another house which the bank also owns. Or sleep on the street, I guess. The problem doesn't lie with individuals, even if that individual happens to be president. The problem is, and let's learn a new word here, children, systemic. The Federal Reserve has raised or possibly lowered interest rates, I can't keep up, in an attempt to balance the books. Because our current president has a spending problem, and we aren't producing anything as a country, Tracy. Both these things have a very major impact on the US economy. Okay, presidents can't have a spending problem because money isn't real. It's a representation of human endeavor. Trust me, as long as the US has citizens who are human and they endeavor, there'll be an economy. People need to make smarter decisions so they can take back control. Otherwise, we're going to end up like Canada, all living in government housing. Smarter decisions like who to vote for. Presidential policies have a direct and immediate impact on the economy, Tracy, whether you want to admit it or not. Okay, darling, I'll grant you that if you can clarify one thing for me. Whose economy? Which economy? Because I don't have access to the same economy as a dipshit like Elon Musk. That fool is spending money on lithium mines and social media platforms and robot workers. I'm shopping at Ruler Foods for cream of rice and discontinued shades of lipstick. My individual choices have limited impact. His choices impact thousands. It would take millions of people pooling our money together in a unified effort to participate in Elon's economy and have the same level of influence he does. We're not living in the same economy. To ring raves like Elon, the economy is a tool that he can yield. But for a humble little Shire dweller such as myself, it's a bludgeon. The elite don't want you to own anything so they can control you. It's an effort to eliminate the middle class and they're succeeding. Think I answered this question already? We're getting repeat questions. But again, do you really think a new administration is going to change any of that? That if we just change who's allowed in the elite class, everything will right itself? Because you've offered me no evidence to justify that claim. I'm sorry, I'm not even sure I'm engaging directly with that question. I'm kind of lost here. I don't even know where we are in the argument. I don't think we're even having the same argument. But listen, you're never going to convince me that it's ever okay for someone to own multiple properties just to create artificial scarcity and manipulate the housing market. Not when there are people sleeping on the streets. How many of our abandoned buildings could be fixed up and used better? Don't tell me we can't afford it. The U.S. money supply isn't a giant Scrooge McDuck money bin full of gold. When they say they can't afford it, what they really mean is organizing that project would be difficult and time intensive. And even though the completed project would be beneficial and worthwhile and would lower housing costs, creating all those government jobs would also lower the unemployment rate. And if you pay people higher wages, well, the price of groceries is going to go up. It would need to, because the imaginary stock market line won't go up steep enough if we don't raise the prices. So I guess people are just going to have to sleep in the rain. Or here's an idea. That imaginary line could just stay right where it is. And everyone could sleep inside, and we wouldn't have to worry about being accosted or attacked by someone who's in a more desperate situation than my own. Which even that is kind of unfair to say, because I encounter unhoused people each and every single day, and all of them are very sweet to me, even though I don't have any money to give them. Well, except for this one woman who spits on me every time she sees me, but I just avoid her. I can't help but wonder what it would be like if they had a safe place to shower and sleep. How would our encounters be different? I'm guessing a lot of the people I see the most would still be out there working the intersection, still asking me for change, still occasionally spitting on me. Yeah, I don't think that part of their situation would change much, but I do think more people would talk to them, see them as human beings. See, I don't want to sit here and argue with you about economic facts, interest rates, supply, demand. All of that abstract stuff means nothing to me. What I'm asking you to do here is stop assigning blame and take a look at who the victims are. You can look for the perpetrators later, but help the victims up first. The economy that I would like to live in is one that's simply people working together to meet needs. The economy the media talks about is such a nebulous concept that it can be used to say almost anything and people will believe it whether it makes sense or not, as long as they blame the right person. This framing of everything being you versus me, that's deliberate. It flattens class conflict and obscures the true systemic causes of inequality. But listen, I still don't want to argue with you. I'm never trying to win an argument in these videos. I'm just presenting my side of the discussion.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is... Please note, the new number is...
Earlier you said switching presidents won't have this big, resilient impact on the American economy, but now it's the president has an outsized impact on the economy. Well, which is it, LOL? That's a direct contradiction, Tracy. Words have meaning, you know. Wait, is that what I said? Cambot, will you play that back? Now, the president undoubtedly has an outsized impact on the economy. Well, I said that, but why did it stop right there? That's an awkward stop. You cut it off before I finish my sentence. Now, the president undoubtedly has an outsized impact on the economy compared to the average citizen. You have to listen to the whole sentence. Compared to the average citizen. You can't just cut out the words compared to the average citizen. That's... oh my gosh. I was just trying to say the president has more than the average citizen, but less than you think. Jinkies, why are spectrums so difficult for people to understand? You're right, darling. Words do have meaning. But you still need to comprehend the concepts they represent. Point I was trying to make, had we been communicating, is that it doesn't matter which one of them is president. Any U.S. president is going to be beholden to the interests of capital. They will give big money to the military-industrial complex and give austerity to the rest of us. You know what has a direct impact on oil prices, causing them to skyrocket? Major war. We could control the housing market to make it illegal to purchase multiple properties unless you're going to reside there. And I'm not talking about your summer cottage. I'm talking about investors buying thousands of home mortgages, packaging them up for speculators to bid on, and crashing the economy when their projections don't pan out. Not everything has to be controlled by the free market. Not everything should. Food and shelter should certainly be seen as a human right. We're not living in super scarce times. We currently have the means and the structure to provide for everyone's needs. Here's a book recommendation so you don't have to take my word for it. We have the ability to do these things, there's just no political will. Neither presidential candidate is interested in making systemic change because there's just no money in it. If we really wanted to solve the mortgage crisis, we could threaten to scoop up every abandoned building through eminent domain. That's the threat we had to resort to in St. Louis to spur the previous absentee landlord owner of the Millennium Hotel to either sell the property to a local owner or do something useful with it. The hotel is adjacent to the Gateway Arch grounds. We're talking prime real estate. It was like a landmark when I was younger. Like every single postcard of the Gateway Arch taken from the east side of the river, you can see the Millennium Hotel right there. It's this tall cylindrical building with this really cool rotating restaurant it used to have on top, so you could get a view of the arch and the river and the city. The arch and the river and the city.
The arch and the river and the city. The arch and the river and the city. The arch and the river and the city. The arch and the river and the city.
Well, the hotel's been sitting there unused since 2014. The owners have just been holding on to the property for 9 years, waiting for it to magically increase in value. Because we all know how much more appealing a property becomes once it's been abandoned for many, many years.
Oh, will you look at that? Guess we're not going to the pool today after all.
They wouldn't even be able to reopen that cool restaurant if they wanted to. The structure is unsound due to years of unuse. Okay, I'm getting off site. I'm leaving. The economy is such a nebulous concept the way it's used in the US media that you could say anything and everything is related to it. But you can also willfully misinterpret the exact same facts to make them fit any message you want your audience to hear. Like here's a headline from CNBC, celebrating the Dow Jones Industrial Average closing at a record high based on strong retail reports. Well, that's undeniably good news for the economy, right? Just look at those earnings numbers. The profit margin basically doubled year to year. This is amazing news. Who is this company? Oh, it's one of those banking apps that lets you buy things on credit. Like, I'll gladly give you a hamburger today if you'll pay payday loan interest rates for it on Tuesday. Do you see what they did there? They made it sound like good economic news that people need an installment plan to buy a Whopper. This is what I mean by there being more than one economy. One economy for people who need a loan to buy a Happy Meal, and one economy for the bastards who profit off speculating on the frequency of my Big Mac attacks. I think we're getting pretty off track though. I think the original topic was the mortgage rate. which I address directly by saying comes mostly from artificial scarcity being introduced into the market by investors and speculators, it's not a nice bedtime story. Perhaps a cautionary tale, but I'm not super interested in that topic. What I find more interesting is this reflexive dismissal you have for anyone who challenges your beliefs. Like immediately telling me I don't know anything just because what I say contradicts what you already believe. And I feel like when I do try to engage with you on the subject, you just change the subject on me. Okay, here we what the fuck? Oh, Betty Crocker and a cross. How long is this question? Yes, rich people are buying up homes that they don't actually reside in. Does drive up housing prices, Tracy. But rich people only want to live in ritzy areas. So the few that are buying up extra home or two wouldn't be causing this total meltdown of America through inflation or the other reasons I mentioned. Wealthy people only live in ritzy areas, that's your argument? So why does Stan Kroenke own half of Columbia, Missouri, and that fool doesn't live there? Greed is evil, it's in the Bible. Greedy Democratic politicians and a good size of Republicans who are criminals are also driving up the national debt to $30 trillion. That, my friend, is what causes inflation. Switching presidents does make a difference in the economy. There have been just 3 economic booms since the Depression. The president in office at the time was Eisenhower, Clinton, and Trump. And what did these men have in common? The Republicans controlled the legislature sometime during their term. Presidents propose a yearly budget, and then those greedy criminals pork it up to circle the money around to their friends. The biggest criminals guiding these budgets are Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and Chuck Schumer. And of course, the clown they have now in charge of the House of Representatives and Senate have never created an economic boom. They usually cause economic turndowns. History lessons suck, don't they? Listen, darling, history lessons only suck when they're written by white colonizers. I'll see your American history book and raise you on gardeners. The criminals who caused the train wreck in 1929 were Republicans. You see, at the time, a very few elite rich men were close to controlling 1% of the America's GDP. They used their money to buy politicians, increase their clout, and gain power. The crash resulted in a lot of regulation on rich people. Executive orders today are shutting down American oil drilling. Joe Biden sent gas prices up 33% since 2021. Now that's inflation. Now oil is used in every home in America and was $13 when Biden took office. By the end of 2021, it was $36, and now it's back to $25. Still 90% inflation there. So at 33% to the fuel increase in 3.5 years, plus the interest rates was tripled, that's what is putting pressure on the middle class. Based on my math, we can all agree it has gone up 100%. So even if you receive a 10% annual increase at your job, that was once a good raise, so now you see your wage goes up from $25 an hour to $32.50. If you can do the math, it's not going to cover the increase of our products and our homes. So those of us who thought we could afford to buy homes and cars for our family find ourselves in a bit of a pinch. There are many others less fortunate who are not making close to $25 an hour. Sad but true. And as far as your infatuation with Fox News, no, I don't want to buy a bridge. Most of us can't afford one these days. Bridges tend to collapse due to a lack of preventive maintenance and other factors. So you want your bridges repaired? Like built back? Perhaps better? I'm confused. I appreciate your lengthy mansplaining, but sweetheart, don't condescend to your Aunt Tracy. I applaud you, actually, for using historical examples to try and make your point. But you see how you specifically chose examples that backed up your point and ignored all the parts of history that don't? Well, that's exactly what Fox News does. And I only say Fox because they're the source of this particular image. You can sub in MSNBC, CNN, it doesn't matter. The decision on what to cover and what to omit is based on a slant that's already decided before they even wrote the story, and not a careful consideration of facts. Your question was way too long. I forgot half of it, but I will engage with one thing. The economic boom under Trump was caused by giving out those stimulus checks, stimulating the demand side of the economy. My lingerie store never had better revenue. If one of your presidential candidates is considering giving us all $2,000 again, I'd consider voting for that. Money is real. Our president has a spending problem. That is reality. You can't talk about economics without including money. Inflation is the direct result of the money supply growing faster than the economy's ability to produce goods and services. Without money, there's no incentive to produce goods and services. Money has been part of our reality for thousands of years. You, ma'am, are a walking contradiction. I said money wasn't real. I didn't say it wasn't useful. Ronald McDonald isn't real. Mickey Mouse isn't real. The biblical Christ isn't real, but they're all pretty useful. And I would argue that hunger and the need for shelter and the general innate desire to have cool shit are incentive enough to produce goods and services. If money isn't real, maybe you should give all yours away. See how that pans out for you. Joke's on you, I don't have any money to give away. The percentage of my income I spend on rent alone would make you shiver. And that's just one bill. I also have to pay the renter's insurance and the gas bill and the utility bill and the phone bill and the internet bill. And I have to pay the pink tax and the trans tax and the green tax. And those are just my fixed costs. Add all those up and factor in the reality that I'm terribly irresponsible with my money. And it's easy to see how I usually run out of it between paydays. You're proving what I'm saying, Tracy. Money is real if you really need it to live. Okay, I really don't think you understood what I meant by that. Look, if I take a $100 bill out of your purse and then I light it on fire, am I removing $100 from our national economy? Should we alert the Federal Reserve that we lost $100? Or will they even know? Money is a social construct whether I need it or not. But Biden is taking thousands out of my purse and giving it to migrants who aren't putting it back into the economy. So we may as well be burning it. And if you don't think that has a negative impact on our economy, you are dead wrong. So, if I build a monster truck, and then I hire a non-US citizen as my chauffeur so I can pay her under the table with the money I've been stealing from your purse, and have her take me and my monster truck to White Castle so we can get drive-through and we won't have to wait in line because we can just plow over the other cars. Now, she takes some of the money that I paid her and buys a Crave case to take home to her family. How is this not a clear contribution to our economy? Migrants contribute greatly to the U.S. economy and they ask for less in return than the average natural-born citizen. For instance, my chauffeur would pay the same sales tax on their Crave case that I would pay on my chicken rings. But she couldn't collect unemployment if I fired her. Brought up migrants for a reason, Tracy. I used the border crisis as an example to help you understand that the president's policies have an effect on the economy. Of course we ended up at migrants. Wasn't this about the mortgage crisis? Are you getting outbid on your home by migrants? Or are you just throwing so many things out there I can't possibly respond to them all in an attempt to obscure my original point? Because it's working. My original point I don't even remember. No matter how you take it, is to get folks to examine their beliefs and question the wisdom of sharing propaganda. The fact that I challenge the concept expressed in this post shouldn't bother you so much if you're truly convinced of its validity. But you may have noticed instead, everyone called me names and reflexively dismissed what I had to say. Assumed because I disagreed with them I must be on the other side of the political aisle. I don't blame one political party or the other for our situation, I blame them both. My intention when I began this video was never to talk about the economy or immigration or anything like that. I was trying to talk about the mindless perpetuation of meme garbage. Just your use of the phrase border crisis tells me you've been influenced by the media you're consuming. And what bothers me is you never seem to question the motives of the people presenting you the story. Whose interests do they serve? Are they just trying to frighten us into compliance? I mean, you could replace the word economy with Babadook in most media headlines and it'd be just as meaningful and produce the same results. I don't watch media at all aside from Dr. Phil's new network. My info comes straight from the source. So you're at the border right now? No. But if you don't think there's a crisis at the border, I urge you to talk to anyone currently working there, or who has worked down there in the last 3 years. It's a mess. See, you've talked to a number of these people? How many people? What's your sample size? My sources are on the border, and they have been for the last 3 years. Yeah, you said that, but do they have names? May I have the contact info for one of your border informants? I can have my chauffeur drive me down there in my monster truck and I can see the crisis for myself. I won't tell you their names, Tracy. I need to protect my very real and not at all imaginary sources. Go look up an interview with Brandon Judd. You'll see how much of a disaster the current administration has been for our border agents. Yeah, Brandon Judd is a cop. I don't trust cops. Brandon Judd is a border patrol agent. If you don't trust him, why would you trust any of my personal friends or family who are agents themselves or National Guard stationed at the border? Well, yeah, exactly. Thank you. I think we're finally communicating here. Listen, lady, if you don't trust the numbers that Homeland Security is reporting, or the people fighting the crisis, then what do you just pull the information out of your ass? Rude. Maybe you will trust the people living in these border towns who find deceased migrant children on their property. Children who are trafficked and abused and cycled across the border. What about the poor U.S. citizens that have been threatened and robbed and assaulted on their own property by illegals who crossed into it? What about the unprecedented amount of fentanyl flooding across the border and creating a separate epidemic among our citizens? Don't you think that's a crisis? Wake up! I thought you hated it when I'm woke. I believe everything you just said is hyperbole. Sure, bad stuff happens at the border, and in rural America, and Saudi Arabia, and Sweden, and pretty much anywhere humans live. Telling me you found crime is not news, and policing is not the answer. Listen, I admire your relentlessness, but I remain unconvinced by your airy arguments. So forget migrants, Tracy. How about the billions of dollars sent to aid a war that Biden is powerless to stop? Those dollars spent overseas also have a negative impact on our economy. Sweetie, those billions went to U.S. weapons manufacturers, the oligarch class. We gave ourselves the money. That is where money comes from, darling. The government spins it into existence. Listen, I was joking around earlier about selling you a bridge. And if you believe any of this shit, you're probably already invested in a number of bridges. So I won't try to talk you out of it. But listen, sugar, if you insist of sharing pics of that bridge in my feed, don't act surprised when a troll posts up underneath. Even if I believe that abolishing public property, shit, those are my boobs.